Smith & Wesson Model 29. Introduced in 1955 by Smith & Wesson, the Model 29 was the first production revolver chambered in .44 Magnum. Its genesis traces to Elmer Keith's heavy .44 special handloads, which pushed manufacturers to legitimize a higher pressure cartridge and the N-frame revolver to fire it. In 1957, the company formalized the designation Model 29. At release, it ranked as the most powerful production handgun available and was marketed to hunters of large and potentially dangerous game, though enthusiasts and a few law enforcement officers also adopted it in limited numbers. Production has continued with pauses and engineering changes from the mid-1950s to the present. Variants include the stainless Model 629 from 1978 onward and the lightweight mountain gun from 1989. A Vietnam-era experimental quiet special purpose revolver, or QSPR, adapted the platform for tunnel warfare with special captive piston ammunition, though it never entered general service. Clint Eastwood's hit Dirty Harry in 1971 drove extraordinary civilian demand. Dealers struggled to source guns through the 1970s as the revolver became a cultural shorthand for the .44 Magnum itself. Today, it still appears in the Classics catalog and in performance center trims with the stainless 629 line serving users who prioritize corrosion resistance for hunting or outdoor carry. Early pinned and recessed guns and period-correct 6.5-inch examples command collector premiums, while modern runs span multiple barrel lengths and finishes without the historic manufacturing details that defined early production. Colt Python. Colt launched the Python in 1955 as a premium wheel gun on the I-frame initially sketched as a .38 special target revolver, and soon chambered for the rising .357 Magnum. Much of the development occurred informally under talented shop hands rather than a formal R&D program. Hand-fitting a ventilated rib, a full underlug, and precise lockwork produced excellent mechanical accuracy and a reputation for an exceptionally refined double-action pull. Before bluing, the frames and barrels were polished on special walrus hide wheels, a finishing step that gave early Pythons their legendary royal blue appearance. After a 5-decade run that started in 1955, Colt discontinued the Python in 2005, but reintroduced it in 2020 with updated metallurgy, a thicker and stronger top strap, and a simplified, more durable U-shaped mainspring and lockwork. Near synonyms grew from variance and reputation. Combat Python for rare 3-inch examples, ultimate for mirror-polished stainless, and frequent billing as the Rolls-Royce of revolvers due to cost and finish quality. Chambered for .357 Magnum with .38 special compatibility, it shipped in 2.5, 3, 4, 2, 5, 6, and 8-inch lengths across eras. Colt's clockwise cylinder rotation cams the crane and cylinder into the frame, under firing, tightening lock-up under recoil. Law enforcement use was selective rather than universal. State patrol agencies in Colorado, Georgia, and Florida issued Pythons for periods before the shift to service semi-autos. Modern production remains stainless in 3, 4.25, and 6 inches, while the first-generation Royal Blue and commemoratives populate the collector market at markedly higher prices. Ruger Red Hawk. Ruger announced the Red Hawk in 1979 and shipped the first guns in 1980 as its initial large-bore DA-YSA designed by Roy Melcher and Harry Sefried. Built on a new, heavy, solid frame without a side plate and using a single coil spring to drive both hammer and trigger, the design emphasized durability with full power, .44 Magnum loads, and long service life. It diverged from the earlier Security 6 family with mass cylinder to frame engagement and scope mount compatibility. The name Red Hawk covers the platform across calibers and barrel lengths rather than separate families. A polar expedition anecdote often follows the model. Sir Ranulph Fiennes reportedly used a .44 Magnum Red Hawk to deter a polar bear during the Trans-Globe expedition. Typical chamberings include .44 Magnum .357 Magnum and later .45 Colt, as well as a dual-caliber .45 Colt .45 ACP variant, machined for moon clips while preserving rimmed headspace for .45 Colt. Barrel lengths spanned 4 to 7.5 inches, and stainless construction dominates later production. A small batch from a mid-1980s run saw reports of barrel separations tied to over-torqued pre-lubed threads. Ruger addressed assembly procedures and in the process created an even stronger model, the Super Red Hawk. To stabilize the Red Hawk itself, Ruger revised its barrel to frame assembly by eliminating the problematic pre-lubrication tightening control of torque specifications and adjusting thread preparation so barrels wouldn't seize or shear under stress. Collectors also note a short transitional phase where a handful of remedial guns had barrels pinned as an interim safeguard before the corrected process allowed normal production to continue. Despite this minor hiccup in production and the release of the Super Red Hawk, the Red Hawk remains in production in core chamberings, with price bands clustering in the mid-market for stainless hunting and backcountry sidearms. Smith & Wesson Model 686. Smith & Wesson designed the 686 in 1980 and released it in 1981 as the stainless member of the L-frame quartet, the 581, 586, 681, and 686. The goal was to build a revolver that could endure high round counts of .357 Magnum without the bulk of the N-frame and without the durability compromises that heavy Magnum use inflicted on earlier K-frames. The result was a bridge platform stronger than the medium frames trimmer than the N-frames, and it quickly became a mainstay for competition and duty. Line markers include the blued Model 586, the 7-shot 686 Plus, and named limited runs such as Classic Hunter Target Champion and various Performance Center configurations. A CS1 variant served the U.S. Customs Service and remains a point of interest among collectors, chambered in .357 Magnum with .38 special compatibility. The revolver appeared in barrel lengths from 2.5 to over 8 inches. Adjustable sight versions dominate, and stainless construction provides corrosion resistance for field and duty use. Law enforcement adoption was selective but real, particularly through the 1980s and early 1990s, as agencies transitioned from revolvers to semi-autos. In civilian roles, it serves home defense often with .38 special target shooting, and even small to medium game hunting with longer barrels. Current production covers both an and 7-shot cylinders in multiple lengths, and early dash variants and agency-marked examples trade at a premium relative to standard modern catalog models. Colt Anaconda. Colt entered the large-bore Magnum market in 1990 with the Anaconda A44 Magnum revolver built on the heftier MM frame. It arrived decades after the Model 29, and Red Hawk had defined the category, and early accuracy complaints led to a revised barrel profile that improved performance. Production wound down in the early 2000s. The company later reintroduced the line in 2021 with strengthened stainless construction and internals closely related to the modern Python. The Kodiak featured a Magna-ported barrel and unfluted cylinder. The Anaconda Hunter shipped as a scoped hunting kit. Mirror-polished ultimate stainless versions and occasional custom shop-ported guns broadened the catalog. The model is frequently characterized as the Python's big brother, sharing the vent rib and full underlug visual language at Magnum scale. Typical chamberings include .44 Magnum with .444 special compatibility and .45 Colt. Barrel options of 4.6 and 8 inches predominate with rare 5-inch runs sought by collectors, a large target-style hammer and trigger-adjustable iron sights, and drilled hard-tapped frames for optics pointed plainly at handgun hunters. The reintroduction stabilized supply with 4.25, 6, and 8-inch stainless models. A modern Kodiak revival replicated the '93 concept with porting and an unfluted cylinder. Original short-run configurations and early mirror-finished pieces command collector premiums, while current production occupies the contemporary large-frame price band. Charter Arms Mag Pug. Douglas McClanahan founded Charter Arms in 1964 after stints at Colt High Standard and Ruger introducing the Undercover 38 and a one-piece frame that reduced parts count and weight. Transfer bar ignition added drop safety, and the company built a niche in compact revolvers. The MagPug extends that formula to Magnum calibers in a compact package. In 41 Magnum form, it pairs a short barrel with a 5-shot cylinder to deliver major caliber performance at snub dimensions. Its MagPug moniker is tied to a broader family of Charter Arms revolvers. Undercover and Bulldog mark earlier small frame lines, while MagPug denotes the Magnum pattern, snub. Corporate continuity has been uneven bankruptcies and relaunches, but the brand persists with U.S. production. A 2.5-inch barrel matte stainless finish fixed sights and rubber grips emphasize carry durability and recoil control within size limits. The 41 Magnum chambering is uncommon in compact revolvers, giving the model a distinct identity among concealed carry Magnums. The primary audience is civilian users who want a small budget revolver with higher terminal performance than .38 Special or .357 Magnum at the cost of recoil and ammunition availability. Current production includes the MagPug and related compact models at budget-friendly price points. Aftermarket support covers grips more than optics or action parts, consistent with the gun's role as a practical carry piece rather than a competition base. Ruger Super Red Hawk. Ruger introduced the Super Red Hawk in late 1987 as a heavy-duty extension of the aforementioned Red Hawk engineered for the heaviest revolver cartridges of the era and future developments. The frame extends forward to provide more barrel support and integral scope bases. The gun ships with rings anticipating hunting optics. Trigger and grip geometry borrow from the GP100 while scaling up to accommodate the pressures and recoil of the 44. Magnum later, the 454 Casull introduced in 1997 and the 480 Ruger in 2001. With a 10mm auto variant arriving much later for field and target use with moon clips, the abbreviation SRH has become a common shorthand for the standard long barrel hunter, while the 2.5 inches defensive model intended for bear country carry is called the Super Red Hawk Alaskan. One widely cited 2009 incident involved a 454 Casull Alaskan used successfully against a charging brown bear, a scenario that aligned closely with the model's design brief. 6-shot cylinders are standard across most chamberings, with later 2480 Ruger examples moving to 5 chambers to improve case extraction under fouling and pressure. Stainless construction, adjustable rears, interchangeable front blades, and Hogue rubber grips characterize production. The target market centers on handgun hunters and outdoors professionals who need reliable optic mounting and heavy cartridge headroom. The SRH remains in production across several chamberings and lengths, while shorter Alaskans circulate as chest holster sidearms for guides and anglers where large predators are common. Smith & Wesson Model 27. Smith & Wesson's 357 Magnum story begins in 1935 with the registered Magnum, the first revolver chambered for the then-new 357 Magnum. Customers ordered bespoke features in quarter-inch barrel increments, and each gun shipped with a registration certificate. Despite the Depression, demand exceeded supply. In 1939, S&W standardized production as the Model 27's predecessor, and when model numbers arrived in 1957, the name Model 27 fixed the identity. Built on the large N frame, the gun offered more mass and longevity than smaller service revolvers, and a lower-cost Model 28 highway patrolman kept duty budgets in mind. Aliases arise from lineage and materials. Registered Magnum for the pre-1939 Custom Series, Model 28 for the austere sibling, and later stainless or scandium 627, 327 branches, including modern 8-shot N frames. General George S. Patton carried a 3.5 inches registered Magnum with ivory stocks alongside his Colt SAA, and FBI agents favored 3.5 inches guns for a period from the 1940s into the 1970s. Barrel lengths ranged from 3.5 to over 10 inches through various runs. Adjustable rears and either ramped or partridge fronts were common. Law enforcement adoption included the Kansas City Police Department, with broader presence among officers and federal agents prior to the semi-auto transition. The Classics line reintroduced the Model 27 in modern manufacture, with 4 and 6.5 inches barrels, while original registered Magnums sit at the top of the collector market. Later dash changes removed pinned barrels and recessed chambers in the 1980s, aligning manufacturing with contemporary processes. Ruger GP100. Ruger debuted the GP100 in 1985 as the successor to the security/service Speed 6 family, with an explicit goal of tolerating unlimited .357 Magnum use. The design uses a solid frame without a side plate, a crane lock system reminiscent of the Red Hawk, and a triple locking cylinder that engages front, rear, and bottom for robust alignment under recoil. A modular grip peg houses the mainspring and allows broad grip interchangeability, a practical advantage for fitting hands and managing recoil. Aliases appear as catalog codes. A K prefix marks stainless models, an F suffix indicates fixed sights, and GPNY denotes fixed sight. 38. Special duty variants associated with New York contracts. Chambering span 357. Magnum 38. Special 327. Federal Magnum 22. LR 10mm auto and 44 special with capacities from 5 to 10 depending on caliber. Barrel lengths from 2.5 to 6 inches, and both fixed and adjustable sights cover concealed carry duty roles and field use. Field stripping divides the revolver into subassemblies without specialized tools, encouraging routine maintenance. The GP100 remains in current production across multiple calibers and configurations, occupying the durable mid-size slot between compact carry guns and Magnum hunting revolvers. Chiappa Rhino. Italian engineer Emilio Ghissoni, known for the Mateba auto revolver, designed the Rhino with Antonio Cudazzo in 2008. Chiappa began production in 2010. It inverts conventional revolver geometry by aligning the bore with the chamber of the cylinder at the 6 o'clock position, driving recoil straight into the shooter's wrist to minimize muzzle rise, which allows for rapid sight reacquisition and faster follow-up shots compared to traditional 12 o'clock barrel designs. The frame uses ergal aluminum alloy with steel lockwork, and the external hammer functions as a cocking lever for an internal striker-type system. The design was Ghissoni's last before his death and carries forward his long-standing interest in low-bore axis recoil management. Other variants within the Rhino family include models 20D and 20DS through 60DS, indicating 2 to 6 inches. 120DS stretches the platform to meet UK overall length requirements. Charging Rhino denotes competition-tuned 9x19mm models. White Rhino refers to a nickel-like finish. Polylite introduces polymer frame elements for weight reduction. Hexagonal cylinders reduce width for concealment and aesthetic effect. Caliber offerings include 357 Magnum 38 Special 9x19 9x21 for markets that restrict 9x19 and 40 S&W in limited runs. Accessory rails appear on most 4-inch and longer versions. Short barrels omit them. The revolver's unconventional silhouette has placed it in films, television, and video games, often misread as a science fiction prop. Current production remains broad with competition variants and multiple finishes in regular circulation, while UK-specific 120DS Revolver models satisfy the 60-centimeter rule through barrel and extension geometry rather than detachable stocks. If the information in this video proved useful, consider leaving a like, sharing it with others interested in firearms history, and subscribing for future installments. Suggestions for topics are welcome in the comments. Thanks for watching.